What is up, everybody? I am the Anarchist from 420 Creations. Welcome to the third episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. Last episode, we launched into the Getting Started in Basic Construction Training exercise, where we learned how to build the Hopper rocket that we'll be learning how to launch in just a few moments. If you missed out on that tutorial, don't worry, you can always catch up on the chaos here, which is also linked in the description below. We'll continue to orbit around the training exercises for now, just until we get the hang of how to play. So for this episode, our destination is the basic flight training exercise. So sit back, grab your munchies, and let's blast off. So, as I said, we are going to be going into the basic flight training exercise, where we're going to learn the basics of flying a spacecraft in KSP. In this tutorial, flight instructor Gene Kerman will take you through the essential flight controls and instruments required to launch a simple hopper, the one that we built in the construction tutorial last episode. So, Gene Kerman, welcome to the Kerbal Space Launch Facility, the Kerbal Space Center Launch Facility, I'm Gene Kerman, and I will teach you the basics of piloting a spacecraft. I trust you've already checked the basic construction tutorial. If not, I recommend you do so before going through this one. Today we will do a run through of all the important controls of your spacecraft. Our little hopper from the basic construction lesson with Werner may not have all of them, but we'll do a fun roll through once and see how it flies. If you're ready to go, press next. So, this tutorial should essentially teach us all the basic flight controls of what we should be doing and how to control our spacecraft correctly, unlike what I did in the first episode. So flying a spacecraft is all about being in control of a generally very chaotic situation. And here at 420, we love chaos. As a pilot, your main flight controls will affect the pitch, yaw, and roll of the ship. Let's look at those first. Pitch, yaw, and roll are the three directions you will rotate your craft. To help you visualize these, we've taken a holiday snap of your hopper below. Yaw, you see, is roll, and then pitch. I don't even know how to describe that, to be honest. You control your ship's rotation using these controls. S and W is pitch up and down. A and D is yaw, left and right. And Q and E is roll, left or right. By controlling pitch, yaw, and roll together, you can keep the ship in a controlled flight. Try it now and notice the indicator in the lower left side, and watch it as you move, as you provide controlled input. So we're trying that out, watching that happen. I'm gonna need to be able to use all of those to be able to keep, which I don't know if we would necessarily need to use roll in a normal basic situation, but that would probably come in handy later on as we're trying to maybe create a space center or something of the sort, which I do want to try at some point. Throttle plus pitch, yaw, and roll are the main controls you'll need to master for a successful crash-free flight. We'll skip over the throttle control for now, as this vessel has no need for it. Don't worry, I'll explain it another time when it's of use. Remember that all these controls have a limited amount of effectiveness, so bigger, heavier ships will probably respond much more sluggishly to the controls than a little small one. It's also good to keep in mind that as stages are separated from the ship, it will become lighter, and this will usually mean easier to control. Staging. In flight, all the planning you put into the staging sequence of your ship comes into play. From launch to the final deployment of the descent parachute, you can control the activation of several of the ship's parts by activating stages with the spacebar. Launch or activate the next stage. Notice the stage indicator in the lower left corner. shows the currently active stage. Since we haven't launched yet, it's showing the first stage is active. I have your staging controls locked for now, so the staging indicator is glowing purple. One more thing on staging: if the staging setup is causing strife, or you change your mind about something, you can edit the stage sequence on the fly. Pun intended. No need to go back to the assembly facility. So that's nice to know. An important part of flying is knowing how your ship is oriented and where it is going. That's why a good pilot is always aware of the ship's attitude, where it is pointing, and its velocity vector, where it is going. These aren't always the same direction, and as your skills improve, you should pick up on these. The big round instrument on the lower center of the screen is called the NavBall. This device sums up most of the critical information needed for proper death-free flight. Which you can see down there at the bottom, the very bottom center. Here you can see the ship's nose in relation to the horizons. When you're not pointing straight up, it's easily visible as the line between the blue sky and the brown ground. So, since we're pointing straight up, we can't see it. As well as its heading, compass bearing, and speed. You can get several icons that indicate things. Excuse me. You also get several icons that indicate things like your current velocity vector, but we'll have a look at those later. I hope there's a little tutorial about velocity vector later, because I don't even know what that means. Rocket science. It's definitely not for everybody. Flight instruments. In the top center part of the screen, you have your altimeter, vertical speed indicator, and atmosphere gauges. The altimeter will show you the distance to the planet's surface at sea level. This means the actual surface may be much closer, so watch out for the ground when landing. Your vertical speed indicator shows how quickly your altitude is changing. When launching, it's considered best to keep this gauge pointed up. So there's our atmosphere right there I'm pointing at now. The atmosphere gauge indicates how deep the ship is in the planet's atmosphere. This helps you know if the ship is high enough for orbiting without losing speed to air resistance. One last thing before we give this rocket the green light. In the staging stack, you can see the indicator for your parachute. This indicator shows when the parachute will be activated by staging. You already know that one. But the background will also change color to indicate when it is safe to stage the parachute, and the foreground, the parachute bit of the icon itself, will change color depending on the parachute's state. Note, however, that by default, parachutes will not deploy when unsafe, even if you stage them. The left three show safety: safe, risky, and unsafe to deploy. The chute is unstaged, white, in the left three. Chute is unstaged, white, in the left three. Okay. The right three show state after staging: armed, deployed, and cut or shredded. So armed is a blue parachute, deployed is a green parachute, and cut or shredded is a red parachute. When we are familiar with the chute icon colors, we can move on. So we see over there that we have a unstaged parachute because it is white, and it's on the gray background, so it is unstaged. Okay, enough talk. I'll unlock the flight controls and you'll be clear for launch. At any time, you may press escape to pause the game. In the pause menu, you can restart the flight or end this tutorial, choose end scenario, and return to the main menu. For now, get yourself prepared and hit space when ready to launch. Don't forget our hopper has only a solid rocket motor, so there is no throttle control. That's why we didn't need the throttle here. Make sure to fly in a nice high arc and enjoy the flight. So if you guys are ready, in 3, 2, 1, lift off! And up you go. You can try practicing some of the controls we just discussed, like pitch, yaw, and roll. Also keep an eye on the parachute icon in the staging list that shows you how safe the current environment is for chutes. Once it goes red, it won't deploy, or it's clear again, even if you stage it. It won't deploy until it's clear again, even if you stage it. I realize this could be too much to learn in one go, so if you forget, you can always press escape and click view key bindings for a reminder. Your solid motor has burned out. You're passing apoapsis, the highest point in your flight, and your speed is low enough that it's safe to stage again to deploy the parachutes. Do so now before you speed up again and hit the ground. Now we sit back and enjoy the descent. So here we go. We are at 6,000 meters and counting. I'm assuming this is probably going to take a little bit. This is why I sped up the launch and recoveries during the first episode, because it does take quite a while. I could have sped forward, I guess, the gameplay itself, but being new to the game, I'm still just trying to focus on actually doing everything itself and not speeding up the gameplay, so to speak. But here we got 300 meters and counting. So now we really slowed down because our parachute opened up, which is nice. It's a good thing that the parachute opened up. It means we did everything correctly when we built it, and it survived. This hopper is basically the same design that we had in the first episode, the very first build, the first and second build, because the first build I made in the space plane hangar, and we launched it sideways, so it crashed immediately. And the second build, we just kind of, well done. You've survived your first quick flight. When you've landed or splashed on Kerbin and not in training, you can point the mouse just above the altimeter and click the recover button on the panel that slides down to ask to be picked up. See, that's how we can recover in the game, instead of going home and recovering it like we did. I've also unlocked the crew hat, so if you feel like going out for a walk or swim, you can click the EVA, the extra vehicular activity button. It will pop up when you mount over the portrait of the Kerbal you want to take for a walk. You can do it just for fun or collect a surface sample. This concludes today's lesson. To exit training, you press escape and press the pause menu to access the pause menu, and choose end scenario to return to the main menu. I hope to see you again to learn more about suborbital flight, perhaps. Oh, suborbital flight. Bye. So, that was the basic flight tutorial. And now that we've got that done, I say that is gonna be where we're gonna end this one. That's gonna do it. So, thank all of you guys for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoyed our continued journey into the Kerbalverse. I know that these last few training episodes haven't been very exciting, but I think it's gonna be, it's definitely needed as we go forward into our career mode. We definitely need all this information. So, but yeah, as I was saying earlier too, that hopper was basically the same one that we made in our career mode, the first and second build. So we did make that in our career mode without actually knowing that we did, so that was nice. But it's nice to still know what we're doing, right? I think so. So, with this episode over, don't forget to tune in next time when we'll be entering the orbit of another training exercise and hopefully learn a little bit more about the construction process. We're going to go into the intermediate construction training exercise. So hopefully we get to learn some new techniques that we can implement into our career mode gameplay. So that'll be cool. If you had a blast watching, go ahead and light up the like button, and remember to ignite the conversation by sharing your thoughts or questions in the comment section down below. If you want to stay up to date with our cosmic crew here at 420, make sure to spark up the subscribe button for more interstellar escapades. Until the next adventure, stay toasty, my friends.